have a special guest. We have actor and producer Amin Joseph. Now, you've seen him in a bunch of film and TV shows, including The Expendables, Baywatch, G.I. Joe, and of course, Snowfall. But most importantly for us here, he's a father, so welcome to the Fatherhoods podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So you said this before we started recording, but yo, I'm ashamed because we should definitely remember you from other things, and Kay just rattled off a few.
You
But
got a long, you got a long filmography, man.
yeah, but you're a New York dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, here we go
I
with the
just-
New York dude.
bro,
Man,
relax, kid, relax,
I was hyped
relax.
because Snowfall's in LA and I'm originally from LA, so I'm like, yeah, you know.
Well, he live in LA now, so he can do the bi-coastal thing.
It's
Yeah.
Queens and Harlem, right?
Queens and Harlem. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
born in Queens, Rockaway, Queens. I grew up in Harlem. Uh, I lived in Brooklyn for a little while too, like around Ocean Ave by Prospect. But yeah, man, I grew up like my times is Harlem definitely, and I was born in Rockaway.
Mm.
That's close to you, man. You're right. The Bronx, Harlem.
Bronx and
right
Harlem is just a bridge away, baby.
Yeah, where in the Bronx are you from?
I'm from the Parkchester area. I went to
Parkchester. Yeah, I know where you at. Ooh, that's a little trip for me.
yeah. Oh man, so tell us a little bit about because you got one child we talked about, so and that's relatively recent.
there. And you got a 3-year-old. I got a 3-year-old as well.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so you know what's up with the three Nagers.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm going through it right now.
so tell us a little bit about her. Like Father's Day just happened. Like what's been going on, as of recent with your daughter.
Of recent, I mean, of today, because you know how it is. I'm gonna give the today stories,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
today is I did two braids on the left side of her head because her mom had to get into a Zoom conference, so we were running a little late, so I was able to knock out like a dope two braids on the side. So I'm working up, I'm working to get to the whole head. You feel me?
Right.
And I'm gonna be really confident once I'm able to do that. I feel like I'm gonna be able to get her dressed, just me and her, and really be able to have our own autonomy, like it's me and you for the day, without needing auntie or mommy to do the nice hairstyle. So I'm working up to that. That's the first thing on the bill. Um, what's up? We was working on some math, like simple math. I'm trying to get the 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. She got the 1 + 1 is 2, but
Right. Taking it further.
we trying to get that on. We have one of my good friends is Matthew Cherry. He's a director. He won an Oscar for an animated film called Hair Love, and
Yes,
there was
yeah.
also a book that accompanied it that I think was a New York Times bestseller book for children. So we read that's one of her favorites. We read that usually every day. We in the drop top to school, you know what I mean, with the breeze, and she's back there trying to enunciate. Really just look at the pictures and talk to me. And we do a lot of word association games. I dropped one of those on Father's Day, where we do a lot of word association and sort of kind of in the New York way. It come out, we be snapping on each other. So
I peeped that. You a banana? Nah, you
yeah,
an apple.
You a banana, you an apple. Like, no, daddy, you a French fry. Well, you're ketchup. And it's just a good way to keep that vocabulary. I start throwing words in there that, more than 2 or 3 syllables, to get that vocabulary and get that word association going. So that's like today's stuff.
You said she's going to pre-K already?
Yeah, she goes to a little school here. It's actually in Brentwood. Um, but she's actually been in school since she was 4 months old, just because of my
Oh, wow.
schedule and my wife's schedule. So she's accustomed to being, around, having a whole day, and being with, other peers and all that.
You mentioned the three-nager. So my daughter, she's wilding right now. This three-nager thing is crazy. And she started school, I don't know how long ago. Maybe it's been several months now that she started her schooling. And we asked the school where the teacher was like, "Yo, is she crazy in school?" And they're like, "Nah, she's. What do you mean she's an angel?"
She's an angel. Same with
Does that happen?
mine.
Yeah, I'm about to say, does
Same
that
with
happen?
mine. Well, you know what? I kind of look back because I was very mischievous coming up. Man, I was kicked out of schools and all type of stuff coming up. And I think children, like, she's, the way I look at it, she's probably giving us all of the behavior that she sees mirroring from school.
Right.
The defiance, no, everything is no, everything is I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking for that identity, and she's testing boundaries all the time. One of her favorite things with me is like she likes to cook food. We got our little kitchen in her room. She likes to cook and she likes to serve me food. And then she'd be like, "Daddy, okay, it's time to go to bed." And I peep how she's doing it. A lot of times children will mirror exactly what you give them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lessons in that even for me of like, okay, if she's doing this in a gentle way, it's not rushed, it doesn't feel like it's mean or too much of an authority. That means we must be doing a good job. But she wants her own independence. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's looking for where she fits in the pack. So I'll let her do that stuff. But when it's time to go to bed, then what I mean, like now, because she'll be trying to run that game on me, like, nah, daddy, you got no, 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 nah, like
Slow
playtime's
down.
over. Now it's time to. So I just think that it's I like it because it gives me a new way of looking at life for myself. You know what I mean? So she's learning, but I'm also learning too. I'm learning a lot. It's expanded me a lot.
It,
My,
it,
my daughter's favorite words are 2 minutes, Daddy. 2 minutes.
Yeah, my daughter, everything is either 5 minutes or an hour.
Oh
If I be like,
man.
"How long did you take a nap?" An hour. it could be any amount of time over 5 minutes. And then if she needs, 5 minutes, in 5 minutes, I'll do it in 5 minutes. But of course she's picking that stuff up from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you just said, so I have 3 kids. My eldest is 14. Actually, we just got back from her 8th grade graduation, so I didn't think I was going to make it in time. But you said something about mirroring right now that I never really actually considered, right? So, like, you getting playback for whatever it is that's going on in your household, and depending on the tone and the mannerism, the way it goes down, it is kind of like you checking your homework almost. It's like, yo, all right, if she's aggressive, then we probably doing something a little too aggressive. So I had to think back right now because my daughter loves my youngest. She's 5. She loves playing we have a kitchen as well in the house, so she likes to do that stuff too. And I'm just playing back some of those episodes where she's bringing us food and whatnot, and it happens to be gentle and stuff. But I gotta peep it now because to see if I see anything funky, my wife and I need to kind
Yeah.
of
How
redirect.
someone gives you something, like when she like wants to put me to sleep, she'd be like, "Okay, daddy, get your pillow," and then she'll get the like a little comforter or something, throw that over me, and then she'll pat me on you know what I mean? Because that's basically what they're doing when they putting them to sleep, for naps and stuff. So all I'm just saying, if there was anything that was funky going on,
It'll come out.
there are telltales. If you saw something that was
Yeah.
off, you'd be like, "Wait, hold on. Why would you?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, where'd you get that from?
it's just to me, yeah, it allows as a father you to be present, that these aren't just little games, that you can reinforce positive things, in them at this point where they're so impressionable.
Mm.
I dig
Let
it.
me ask you guys this, and the kind of a group question. Do you make an aware decision with your wives, your ladies, in terms of what's the word I'm looking for?
A
Being,
scumbag?
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not being a scumbag, but like for your kids to see the parents and not single one out as like, okay, daddy or mom is is the disciplinarian and the other parent is not. Are you guys making a concerted effort and and trying to make it even so that your kids look at all as the same, as opposed to like trying to get over on someone on one and go to the other because they think one's going to be more discipline heavy than the other.
Amen, you go first since you're the guest.
Mm.
Basically, you're trying to say,
I
Kay,
think
just
it's
I know
part
it
of.
was a little convoluted.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, it wasn't a straightforward question, but I think I feel the intention behind it. Is I mean, and I think that's probably why you're dancing with it a bit, because it really is a dance. It's a rhythm more than when you're dealing with, for instance, with me, my wife now will admit that she's a pushover. Um, at first she didn't think that, and I can understand that. And that's the first world for the child, like, so as a dad, it almost was feeling like the rhythm of like hopping in, like on almost on some double dutch, like, oh,
Right.
where I get in right here.
yo,
And then
when
you
you
see
was
some
doing this,
behavior,
I was
you see
like, yeah,
some
he going to double dutch.
yeah, you double, like, oh, nah, all right, you got, all right, okay, you got it, because I'm very much, if you got it, you got it, but
Right.
you in the other room listening, like, all right, so I think it takes a lot of patience to allow each individual to find their parenting rhythm, their flow, because everyone relates to people according to their POV, their personality, and that's unique, you know. And then somehow you need to be able to come together and then
Right.
have a overall kind of plan, overall, intention. I keep using that word
Right. The
for
united front.
how we want to see the child develop, things that we both notice are key areas to focus on. I think that's a constant communication and a checking in. And I think if you allow each person to find, I remember when my wife was when she needed to stop, like she needed to wean Azana off. That was a big thing for me, because it was going wild long. It was like, it
Right.
was good. It was really good here. Um, come on now, she's gonna be 15, still nervous. What's going on? So, um, but that was something, that was a bond between them that needed to run its course and needed to end a certain way. And when it ended in a way that it was perfect for both of them. Now, for me, that was a little, it was late. It's like, but when I noticed how it just ended and that she was able to sleep through the night better, like a whole bunch of development happened at that same time. And my wife didn't have an anxiety that she was holding on to with that whole process, So to me, in that situation, I kind of learned something. I learned, like, okay, you know, have a little grace, have a little patience, because my wife's way sometimes isn't in the time of my way, but she deserves that time. And it's okay for me to chill back and be like, let that go. I could learn something in there. So that's what I got right now. I'm only 3 years in. So
Yeah.
Just to answer your question, Kay, for me, I don't consciously decide I'm going to be the disciplinarian in my household. Or, like, we didn't really game plan anything like that. It just kind of
Not necessarily to give each other the roles, but I guess like what Amy was saying, everyone's going to be different as a parent, and everyone's got their own point of view and their own style. But then coming together for that united front, and then I guess having that constant communication of, me and my wife, okay, we got to continue to talk and make sure that like we're on the same page for the different things that we need to instill in my son, even if it's, just around the house. Like, you got to do something for the house, and these are the chores or the things that you got to do, but it's up to both of us to maintain that with them. So it's not, so for me, it's like I got to remember to make sure that I'm not just leaving it
to
to
her.
her to be the one to implement those things all the time, because then at the end of the day, it makes mommy look like the one who is she's always telling me to do these chores or do this work or whatever. So I'm I'm trying to get better and have more of an epiphany of like, all right, I gotta, yeah, I can do all this stuff as a dad, but I got to make sure that I'm maintaining some of these standards that we collectively have set for him.
I feel that because sometimes you can feel like because my wife was like I said, she admitted like, oh, I'm a pushover in a way. I kind of felt like, wait, hold up a minute. I'm supposed to have this daddy daughter situation where it's just like running the daddy, and I'm the king and she the princess, and I'm over here doing the discipline stuff. So she's shirking back, going to mommy because I'm saying, listen, you can't talk to your mom like that, or you need to pick that up, or go
Right.
get that right now and put it back. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be the
The
dude that's
hero.
just let her do whatever she want to
Right.
do type joint. So but that's not too mature of me, you know what I mean? But that's just the ego part. But like I said, luckily my wife, I think every parent, whether you do it early or late, you're gonna run into the clashes of personality with anybody, and people have to figure that out. But like we were saying, if you can come together with your mate, and then from there have a unified front and say like, okay, like we don't accept disrespect. You know what I mean? So I can't let my daughter disrespect my wife.
Right.
I'll hear, you know, bath time going wrong and a tantrum going on that's just out of control, and just strong nose, and just, showing that. And I'm going to come in and protect my wife in that moment, because she may be out of, sometimes we get fatigued too. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
You be with the children all day or something, and you like, I'm about to
Yeah,
snap.
you lose it.
So it helps when that other person can feel
Yeah.
that and come in and give a whole different, because sometimes it's actually needing the moment to be able to ask the child like, what's really going on, and let's really talk, and but you can't get there once we've already, it's everybody on 100. So it's definitely so much teamwork. That's why I'm really committed to I think for every father that if you could really, one of the things that I could see even with my father, like, to be able to raise a child in your household, you know, it's another blessing, because when you're really not there to do it as a team, no matter how good a job you do, you realize that there were some things that are missed, you
Yeah.
know, that you just couldn't have put that imprint on, or you just couldn't have that clear communication between two people to influence this young person.
That's real.
Yeah.
So wait, so did you grow up with both your parents? Is that what you were alluding to when you said your dad?
Well, yeah, well, I grew up in separate households. So, like, I can attest to the fact that my father was a great provider, a great influence. But because of the split, it it automatically, it just makes communication that much more difficult.
Yeah.
It makes the behavior problems that you're dealing with the child that harder to be able to figure out, you know, because there's other influences. And remember, people get other mates and stuff, so that only adds another level of another interaction, another point of view, another person that has their own parental style. It just. So in the best world, in the best case, I think we all know that. And I'm just saying that. I'm just, it's one of the things that if you go down the road of having to break up with, the mother of your child, is one of those things that you kind of go, okay, what type of, who's the person that she's going to pick next? Who's all of that stuff. I mean, I don't hear us talk about it a lot, but
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
would be thinking about that. That is
Absolutely.
real.
I mean, you kind of be you can't be a dickhead if you're not, giving that some serious thought, because it's a really, but like,
Well, sometimes people are thinking about it more selfishly and not about the kid. Like
right,
who she gonna be with next.
right, and
Yeah,
and you see that way too often. Like these,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That part, like, yeah, that
it's
ain't.
tough.
I mean, that ain't what I would really be.
Right.
I would be super nice. I understand kind of more of the like, if that doesn't work, you're still gonna make sure that over there is really tight for the well-being of everyone involved, right?
Right.
You know, so
Yeah. So you had your child. I think we're about the same age. So you had your child late 30s.
yeah,
Amen. First child. That's late for a lot of people.
really
I'm
late.
I'm assuming career had like what was the decision making? How did it end up being late 30s for you versus earlier in life?
Man, I mean, I've been through it all, man. So, it's just only by that fate would have it that I had a child at this age. I've had situations with miscarriages. I've had situations with abortions. So it's not as though there hasn't been, a lot of heartbreak and a lot of tough decisions in my path to get where I'm at, you know?
Mm.
Um, yeah. So, there's a lot of history, a lot of past to that. And this particular child and this family, it worked out in a way that allows me to grow and but also to be able to reflect and see what those situations meant to me, the decisions that I used to make in contrast to the decisions that I make now. What does it mean to really have I knew the type of mate I wanted to have, but I think I also needed to know the type of person that I was, so that not all the
Right.
time was it like, oh, this ain't a good decision because this wasn't a good woman in my life.
Mm.
Sometimes I had an actually an amazing woman in my life, but
You might not have been
I
ready.
wasn't man enough to assume the responsibility. And would some of that come down to career? I could put that in it, but it more so was the fact that I wasn't mature enough to accept a certain responsibility with that person at the time.
Yeah,
Probably.
that's something I think about a lot because I have my 3-year-old and I have a 1-year-old, and I had my early 40s. I'm 46 now, so I think back and I'm like maturity wise, honestly, I couldn't think of a better time than now to mature wise. I mean, I could talk about other things that I'm probably doesn't work out the same way energy wise, but maturity
Yo, I
wise,
was just
I'm in a
about to
perfect
say
place.
that.
Yeah,
I be feeling like like you
Great grandpa
but like
out
this,
here.
how you work out, you get your workout in for the day. When I get my workout in for the day, I don't want to do no other working out.
right.
So dad, run over here to get this and let's run. Nah, I'm tired like grandpa style. And I'm just thinking like in my 20s, you know, even early 30s, perhaps I would have been bouncing off the walls a little more. I'd have been more cool to roll around on the ground.
But you
But
might not have been home. That's the difference. You might not have been present
to do
because
that,
all my
yeah,
boys that had all my friends all their kids are adults now. And I remember I'm like my friends were hanging with me.
it was with me.
It wasn't with their kids. I mean, their kids love them, the same. But I'm like, wait a second, man, you was with me the whole time. We was going
Right.
all over the place.
How'd you pull that off?
Yeah, there's
Uh-uh.
a woman behind that story.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, physically easier when you're younger, but
Yeah,
I agree with you on the mental side. Like sometimes it just it's gonna happen when it happens, and luckily for some of us, we're mentally better prepared when it happens later in life.
It's funny because I think about what you
good.
guys just said, and for me, I was always in this mind frame, whether it be marriage as one of those big social things that everybody's supposed to go through, children, creating a family, all these things society expects you to do in a particular way. And for me, it was always like I always thought about it as it's a compromise, and you lose in these compromises. Meaning, when you get married, you have to take this other person's shit. Like, there's no like trying to figure out a happy medium. Like, it's like, all right, if I was all about, I don't know, video games, like my shit was video games. Now I gotta hang up the remote controls because when you get married, that's one of the compromises. Even though that's something near and dear to me, I look, that's how it was in my head. Same with kids. It was like, all right, once I have kids, everything I knew about life that I enjoyed has to go away. And after I went through my my only divorce, I my whole mindset changed. At the time, I didn't have any children, so that was a fortunate breakup. But it completely threw away my old way of thinking, and it was like, yo, compromise means like you don't have to give up who you are inside in order to marry or be with somebody else. And the same thing kind of apply with my children. So I found a mate second time around that we clicked on all those levels, and it was like, yo, it's us together, the totality of who we are, not subtracting pieces and trying to mesh them together. And the same thing carried over with our children. So, when you think about what age is the right age and all this shit, it's like, nah, it's whenever y'all ready to do it. And, I kind of joke at the beginning, like, yo, you kind of old to have your first kid, but it doesn't fucking matter because you think about it, in 20 years, you're still going to be fine to be dealing with your kid, and your kid's going to be your homie at that age. You know what I'm saying? So it really is all like where you're at mentally. So I like what you
Yeah,
guys
and
said.
it's also the perspective of do you feel remiss for that? Do you feel, you know, like, so I can joke around and be like, yeah, I'm not as spry as I would have been at 20 running around with her, but at the same time, I'm able to provide a certain type of education, a certain type of a quality of life that I wanted,
Yep.
that was an integral part of what I envisioned myself as a father to be. So I'm living the true. I can actually enjoy the experience a little better than if I was in my 20s and it's a decision of, you know, so, giving support, or taking a job that's toward my passion, or toward just strictly, security for the family or for my child. I think that I was fortunate not to have to make those type of decisions. I think it would have tore me apart a lot.
Let me ask you a two-part question here, going into career stuff. Um, Acting is not a walk in the park. There's a lot of preparation behind, any serious actor and taking a job. So how having your daughter, has that affected any of the work life balance and how you prepare, and has it affected your work at all? And then the second part is,
Yeah.
depending on the type of actor you are, do you ever find it hard to break like, do you bring that role back home sometimes? And are you that role, are you staying in character? And does that ever, do you ever find that bringing that home?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the, like, mental health part of being an actor. Just in general, I mean, we see how many families are broken apart through divorce and things of that nature. So we realize it's something that just in society is pretty difficult to keep a a family together. Um, when it comes to my work as an actor, I would say that what's difficult now is that there is a freedom of art, unabrided, unabashed, truth to power, living in the moment, seizing an opportunity. You know, the foot on the pedal has to dampen a bit when you have a family. Um, there's just the thing. Um, it's hard because I'm going through this still, right? So
Right.
it's like be in be in Switzerland tomorrow. You're working with whoever. 10 years ago, shit, 5 years, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I'm already at the airport. I'm at LAX with no bags. Let's go. Where? Where in the world? You know, now that is so how long
Right, right.
and for who and for how and you already start doing this calculus of all of the things that are important to you as a that you need to be that you feel accountable for, responsible for. How will that affect my wife? um because more than likely my wife, and that's why you pick a good mate. My wife's gonna be like, let's get it done. But you know you don't want to put too much pressure on some, you know what I mean, on someone. I wouldn't want to leave my wife just because she says yes, and just because she knows that's for me a dope opportunity. Can Is it right for me to leave her in that predicament,
Yo, you a smart man,
um
Mrs.
it
Joseph.
just
You
it's
got a good
just
one.
you feel me, like when you know you got a good one, they're gonna be like, go. But babe, that's gonna leave you. I can't leave you. And my wife has a career. I don't want to leave her shorthanded in her aspirations. So there's some calculus that goes on. I just think that when you're thinking like that, things come to you in better packages
Mm.
because you're more intentional about what you pick. And I think there's something good about being intentional about what you pick. Not every flighty moment, not everything on spontaneity. Perhaps I got to where I've gotten to in my career based on that type of spontaneity. Maybe for where I'm going, I will need something that is a bit more structured. You know what I mean? So I think that's how I have to go about it. And when those opportunities come, maybe I'll take that opportunity, or maybe I say, you know what, I'll pass because there's going to be something else that's going to fit a little better. And that's just part of a maturity. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't have that
Right.
15 years ago. I'm out. So um, yeah, and it defines what's really important. Because if you say something's really important, then I feel like a lot of times the situations that come in your life will test that and say, "Oh,
Yep.
you say your family's
Are you gonna
important, huh?
stand on that? Right.
Right.
Yeah, let's see." You know. So, but yeah, I welcome it all. I welcome it. I welcome that. That's all, and we all in the bonus. Though that's the good problems to have. You know,
Facts.
and then the mental health of that, of whether or not you bring these characters home, that's difficult too. So it's much easier to be on location somewhere, um, in a hole in a hotel playing a sociopath. You know, it's much easier, um, playing an alcoholic, playing whatever, even playing a optimist. It's much easier being locked away just dealing with the craft, than coming home and putting on, because your wife may understand, but the babies don't understand.
Yeah. You
Like
gotta
your
unpack that.
daddy and
Right.
daddy, your world is my world. And so I've had conversations with my wife. Like I was pretty intense season of Snowfall, and there was a period of going where the character, I just needed a little bit of time. So I told my wife, like, yo, my attitude might be a little funky coming home because I don't want to take all of that off and then put it back on tomorrow. I kind of want to live in it a little bit.
Right.
So I might be a little distant. Um, yeah. And, I'm a moody man as is. So, I just feel like those are some of the things that the woman that picks you, the family that picks you, that they deal with when you're an artist. We feel a lot, and you're gonna see some of that come out. But I think it's the respectful way to do it is to let you know, babe, the next 3 weeks about to be really intense for me. So I'm just letting you know now that this is where I'm at, the headspace. So let's remember that when we get into an argument 2 days from now. It's because I'm holding on to a lot of stuff.
Are you thinking about when your daughter's older and she's more understanding and she's welcoming you, and you have to, you're now it's not just your wife that you're explaining this to. You're gonna have to
Yeah,
explain it to your
yeah,
daughter.
yeah. Well, I think children are they're so perceptive that I think that she doesn't know what I do, but I feel like she realizes the the contrast of emotions that you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I use a lot of imagination, and she's getting that even in our daddy daughter relationship. You feel me? So I
Mm.
feel like when she realizes, like, oh, he does this,
It'll make sense.
it'll make a little
Even
bit
if it
more
doesn't.
sense. Even
Right.
if it doesn't,
Right.
it's what she knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask a little bit more about the mental health side of it? Because having to build up to a character, take it off for a little bit, like that back and forth, like you described, is challenging, right? But the higher you go in your career, the longer you are doing your craft. I'm assuming the more tactics you inherit, develop in order for you to mentally remain who you are. What are some of those things that people just don't realize you guys are doing on a consistent basis to try to keep your mental right?
Mm, that's a good one. Um, so I believe for me, my process is that I believe that there is a if I was trying to portray you, I would have to first start with myself, right? The truths about me that may be similar. And then the rest of the distance to get to portraying you would be the cost to play you. That's the
Ooh,
that's the cost. I got to make up the. So if I needed to play Arnold Schwarzenegger, we would understand the cost to get there. Wow. First thing we thinking about is the physicality. Wow. We're thinking about the voice. We're thinking about his demeanor, the manliness. If I was going to play someone that was a little bit more beta of a character, you would be like, okay, I'm going to have to take off a lot of what makes me masculine, right, to play a more beta thing. So that process that I'm talking about is basically knowing where you're starting from, knowing that you're starting from yourself with any character that you play, and then the ground that you cover is the price to play that character, and you're always investing in playing into that price as you're playing that role. So when I go back to play, Jerome Saint each year, I realize I get ready physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually for that. But that is a journey that isn't me. So once I finish, I'm able to take that off. I'm able to say what makes me me. What makes me me is my relationship with my daughter, with my wife, with my family, the things that I love, the creature comforts of, like I say, playing, hooping, talking shit, walking the streets of New York. You know what I mean? Like those things, that the books that I like to read, the self help stuff, the spirituality that I have, the humor, and that stuff brings me back to my square, to the center of who I am, and that's a lot of times people have ways to get into a character, but we don't talk as much about ways to get out.
right.
And that's the mental health aspect of it. But it is difficult, and there's no way that you're not affected by any experience. So these characters do leave some residue. they, if you're invested in it like that and you make it real, therefore it is real to you. So there's some things that's always left back, and that also is a reason why you pick certain things. I think you have to be responsible in what you pick, and no one can do that for you or judge you based on the work that you choose to do or choose not to do.
All right.
Dope. It's really nice for me to hear like how much thought goes into it because we take it for granted as the people who watch you perform. We don't understand the depth in which things transpire that ultimately really manifests within you. So you've got a family, you've got a lot of things you got to consider outside of just what's on the screen. So it's good that I'm glad to hear that you're actually doing a lot to think about how you making
Yeah, and
those
that's
moves.
just for every actor, there's a whole nother process. And, but I think we all can check out certain situations where you're like, oh, that person thinks they're that thing now. You feel me?
Yeah,
Right.
We see that in music. We see that in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So in that situation, it's kind of like, I hope whatever you're playing, you actually want to be because you've actually taken that on as your persona. But when that's a character that isn't, so but like this, if you play a very confident character, one might choose to inherit that as their identity, and we might say that's favorable.
right.
The only problem with that is that when you do that and there's negative things that come in there, we're going to look at it a different way. So for me, it's always best just to have a way to get back to who you are, get back to center, my flaws and all.
Dope. Amen, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing you on more out here, especially Snowfall. I know that's all of our favorites on here, so looking forward to seeing you there. And yo, man, procreate some more, bro. Have yourself another one.
Chill.
He's
That's how
Dominican.
that's
He's
that
all
that's
about
that
that.
setup right there. That's that setup. They always want to get you in for another one.
Yo, come back anytime, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
please,
for having
man.
me, guys.
All right,
Nah,
bro.
thank you for taking the time.
I know.
Peace.
Appreciate you.